Next up on Reel Talk, I'll be speaking with George Alevizos. Hey y'all, I'm Asante, and this is Reel Talk. On today's episode, we have George Alevizos. George, great to have you here. Thank you. I see you got the memo. Matching.
I know.
Looking good, brother.
Great to be here.
So, George, for our audience, why don't you share a little bit about yourself? Introduce yourself. What is your history with acting, and what brought you into the union?
Yeah, so I come from a theater background.
Okay.
I graduated from a theater program back in 2019, and from that moment forward, I became a professional performer. I was doing television, film, voiceover, live theater, and then I became an ACTRA member very quickly after I graduated. I booked my first ACTRA commercial, and then I became an advocate because I was brought forward to be part of the accessibility audit for ACTRA Toronto back in 2019.
Nice. Oh, that's so great. We'll touch on that a little bit later. For now, and just want to get things rolling with this AIR acronym that I keep hearing about. I mean, this is in relation to the IPA bargaining and some of the major points. Can you elaborate on that for us?
Do you want me to go through all of them?
I mean, if you'd like, that's up to you.
Sure.
Yeah.
So AIR stands for Accessibility and AI.
Okay.
I is for Inclusion and Inflation. And R is for Residuals and Respect.
Oh, wow. Okay. So with all of that in mind, is there a particular one of those subheadings that is kind of most important to you or that you connect to?
Yeah, I've been really focusing on accessibility and inclusion in all of my talks through the bargaining team and with creating proposals for the other side of the table and making sure that we are bringing that to the forefront with every proposal that we put forward.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So, I guess let's touch on this now. I mean, obviously, you're a big advocate for accessibility, and I believe there's a particular committee that you're a part of with ACTRA, right?
I'm actually the chair or the co-chair and the creator of the Disability Alliance subcommittee with ACTRA Toronto.
That's awesome. So what are some of the things that, some of the hot topics in that realm right now?
Well, that's a really good question. A lot of the people within the community of any form of disability, so that could be invisible or visible.
Okay.
I have visible disability, but there are a lot of people that are complaining about the fact that a lot of self-tapes and a lot of auditions are meant for able-bodied performers, and we're not really seen for a lot of the roles that are outside of our realm of disability. And it's been frustrating because we've had a very slow year with all the strikes that have happened down south, and also has affected the work up here, and also with our own lockout with the NCA, and which is the National Commercial Agreement.
Right.
And I feel like we are really going backwards with accessibility and inclusion as a major forefront for the disability revolution that I would like to see more of in the industry.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a shame to hear that it's kind of moving backwards. What would be some of the things you'd like to see to help maybe stop the momentum going backwards and start pushing it forward again?
I want us to be a part of every conversation when it comes to diversity and inclusion. I feel like we are a lot of the time forgotten about, and yet we make up the most amount of people, because anybody can be a part of the disability community at any point in their life. So that can come from any minority group, any age, any background, any walk of life. People can become disabled at any point in their life. So to have that, and to make sure that a quarter of our population in Canada and a quarter of the population in ACTRA is feeling represented and supported on screen, we really need to be seen on screen from all aspects, from performing to behind the camera, to the writer's room, to directors. We need to be a part of all levels of production, and we're not. And so I think we need to, I want to see more of our stories being told on screen. I want us to be a part of multiple film projects and television projects that are, in fact, showcasing our life in a very mundane way in some ways. Like, I don't want us to be the poster child.
Let's not make a big deal out of it. Let's just embed it into the culture and into the medium and just let it be.
Correct. And I just don't want I don't want everything to be about the inspiration, or I don't want us to be the inspiration all the time, or I don't want us to be like showcasing. I want us to be showcased properly on screen. And I think that the only way that we can do that is if we are seen from all aspects of life. So that could be, we fall in love. We are doing multiple jobs with, people that I know that are lawyers, doctors, and yet we're not seeing that on screen.
That's amazing. I love that. Well, I mean, I hope that message gets out there to some of the producers and the directors, and that they take note, because, why not? What a beautiful world that could be, and we're really celebrating a lot broader spectrum of the diversity and just the beautiful mosaic that we have right here in Toronto, right in the country,
For sure.
Okay, so let's just shift gears a little bit here. We've been talking a lot about this, but I think it warrants it because it's a big conversation, particularly facing artists. And I'm talking about AI. And I wonder, we've talked about it in general as it pertains to artists, but I'm curious to know, how might AI affect specifically diverse artists and actors?
I have a very complicated relationship with AI because there are good things that came out of it, not from an artist standpoint, but from an accessibility standpoint for people that need help with like speech recognition and all of that. Like there are really good things that have come out of it, but it's been exploited. And now it's bleeding into our industry.
Yeah.
And as artists who have a lot of diverse backgrounds and whatnot, and we're not given a lot of opportunities to begin with, when we are being replaced by AI in many regards, it could be voice, it could be on camera, it means that our opportunities go from minimal to non-existent.
Yeah.
And that hurts me. It breaks my heart to hear people struggling already, and then with the threat of AI, it makes it really difficult for me to stomach that and make it seem like it's a good thing in our industry when it's not.
Yeah.
And so, it's same with with background performance, for example. If they're being scanned to be on set, and instead of being on set for multiple days for continuity, they're only being scanned for one day, and then their bodies being shown in multiple episodes. That really, for a lot of diverse performers who may not do a lot of background work already because of how they look or whatever it may be, they are already going to be, their work opportunities are going to be cut into non-existent.
Practically a death blow there. Yeah.
Exactly, right? Yeah. And same with voice. There are there are a lot of diverse voices out there. People that come from all walks of life, different languages, different beautiful things that have come out of people who have immigrated to Canada, or different things that have happened in our world. And when you take that away and you do an AI-generated voice, that also, it ruins the artistry. I really feel like we need to do more for artists and not do less for artists. We're already struggling already, and we need to do more for them. And I think that we're gonna fight, and we're gonna.
Okay.
And I feel really strongly about that, because I don't think that that's the future. I think the future is our voices being told on screen. Amazing. Well, I like that future. Thank you.
So, I mean, I think that, I think the idea, kind of as you described, of using AI as a tool, to enhance or to augment the work, is a positive thing. But I think losing the human aspect is, as you said, it's losing the art.
Yeah. And we are all very artistic people. We want that creativity, and I feel like without entertainment in the world, it would be a very bland world.
Human created entertainment, right? You know, human stories for human viewers.
Because we know, we've lived it.
That's right.
AI has not.
No. Yeah, it simply scanned it.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's very interesting. Very interesting. Thank you. So I want to move forward into some more specifics around the IPA bargaining. Now, I know we generally negotiate about every 3 or 4 years. That's correct?
We negotiate around every 3 years.
Every 3 years. Okay.
Yeah.
So we're at that time now, right? And can you kind of get a little deeper into what our specific timeline is and specifically who we're bargaining with right now?
Yep. So we are going to be going to Montreal in November for 2 weeks to negotiate or start bargaining with, I want to make sure I get this right.
Yeah, by all means.
With the CMPA, which is the Canadian, or the Canadian Media Producers Association, the AQPM, which is the Association Québécoise de la Production Médiatique, and then also we have a third party who is not actually really part of the bargaining team, but they have voting rights because they have a lot of Canadian entities within Canada, which is the AMPTP, which is the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers, which is what SAG-AFTRA went on strike with last year.
So this is down in the States.
Correct. Okay. But because Netflix and Disney, a lot of these American studios have Canadian entities in Canada.
Yeah,
they have voting rights within the CMPA because a lot of their members are both part of the CMPA and the AMPTP.
Okay. Well, all right.
Yeah.
Cool. So there's a lot of parties at the table.
For sure.
A lot of acronyms there too.
I know.
So I mean, with all these bodies at the table, you know, is this something that we can expect will be drawn out for a long period of time, or, you know, is this something that is generally wrapped up fairly quickly? What are kind of your, I guess, forecasts for the timeline on this?
It's a very good question.
Yeah.
It's hard to tell.
Okay.
All the time, like it's hard to tell what the bargaining process will look like. However, I know a lot of people are struggling.
Yeah.
I definitely don't want to go on strike.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody wants to go on strike. And I feel like a lot of producers, especially Canadian indie producers, don't have the money to go on strike.
Okay.
Because unfortunately, we are in a very constricted moment in our industry. And there's a lack of work. And I'm sure every performer, every producer can see that. There's not that much work going on. So I don't expect it to go on for that long because there is a lot of things that we are bargaining that are not a surprise, that should not be a surprise. Okay. But then there are other things that we want to be better for our members. And I think that that's always a good conversation to have with the other side of the table to make sure that we are moving the needle forward when things, you know, to make sure that things get better for everyone, right?
I mean, you'd think that ideally by the end of negotiations, you know, we're feeling better about our situation, as well as the opposing party. Because if we're both feeling better, we can move forward in a better way.
Correct.
Yeah. Well, okay, so I think I'd first like to touch on something that you brought up. So you mentioned, you know, obviously a strike would not necessarily be a favorable outcome. No. I mean, what events might lead to a strike? Like, in what scenario do you see a strike potentially happening?
Well, when we are bargaining, first off, we would need to get a strike mandate by the membership.
Okay.
And so a strike mandate basically is to make sure that the members are on board and with us if we need to pull the strike card during bargaining.
Gotcha.
It's basically just a tactic that people use in bargaining so that if we can, in fact, go on strike, then the producers may be more willing to negotiate on our end.
Right. Okay.
I would say that one of the major things that would affect if a strike would happen is what are we willing to lose? What are we willing to give up? If we're not willing to give up, like everyone's struggling right now. Like actors are having a really tough time in Canada and all over the world. And if we are in the bargaining team, if we're in the bargaining room and we are not getting what we deserve, at what point are we just going to take the deal and it will be a really bad deal?
Yeah.
Or do we go on strike and have the members mobilize so that we can show them how powerful we are as a union?
Well, and so it really kind of seems like it is a delicate balance.
Yeah.
But ultimately, you'd want to have, if strike were really the only option, you'd want to have that member support, that it has to be, we are all in this together. We strongly believe in this, so much so that we're willing to take this.
Yeah, for sure, because I wouldn't want to do a strike on my own.
No.
I feel like we all would want our members to be involved. I don't want to be on strike. I really don't.
No.
We are all, and I know as diverse actors, we already have less opportunities than some people may have in the industry, and that's just the reality of it. And unfortunately, I cannot afford to go on strike. But I also am very cognizant of the fact that we have a lot on the table that we need to really focus on and really fight for our members. And if we're not doing that, we're not doing our job as a bargaining team, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, I think this has kind of been nudged upon a couple of times. You've talked about, some of the tougher situations for actors, particularly diverse actors.
Yeah.
I think that it's a very interesting thing when you tell someone you're an actor. I think you get a lot of interesting questions.
For sure.
I think there's a lot of unknowns kind of surrounding what it really is to be an actor, like the day-to-day life of an actor.
Yeah.
Would you mind maybe sharing a little bit of that with us, and your personal experience with it?
Yeah. Well, being an actor means a lot of rejection. You are constantly putting yourself out there.
Yeah.
And which makes us one of the most resilient workforces out there.
Hey, yeah.
But also it can be very hard on multiple actors, right? And before COVID, we were in the room. You would submit an audition, submit for an audition, and then you would be called into the room, and there would be like 20 to 30 actors auditioning for one role.
Yeah.
Whereas now, because we're in the age of technology, we are submitting self-tapes.
Yeah.
Self-tapes could mean up to 100 to 200 people being seen for one role.
This is it. Yeah.
And it's hard. Like my agent will submit me for an audition. I will get an audition. I will have to send in a self-tape by this deadline.
Yeah.
And then a lot of the time you are sending it out into the void.
Yeah.
And you get no feedback.
and for those that have tuned in today, are you getting paid for any of that?
No.
Yeah.
So and it's like $50, I think, for the callback fee. But when you're doing self-tapes, you a lot of the time do not have a callback. You are booked off of that one audition.
Yeah.
And if you don't hear back, you move on to the next one. But you are now the editor. You are now filming yourself. You are now trying to find a reader. You now have to submit the audition on whatever casting website that you are a part of, or your agent will do that for you, depending on the agent that you have.
Right.
So it's a lot of unpaid time, and it takes a long time to set up a scene in your house if you don't really have a lot of room. I live in a condo, and you don't have a lot of room in a little den.
I know.
So you have to try to figure out the world within what you have in your own home, which can be very hard.
Yeah, it's quite the undertaking.
Yeah.
And to consider that is all unpaid is slightly alarming, I would suggest.
Fair.
So I think, too, that a lot of people, they mistake the life of an actor as this very glamorous one. We're on the big screen, we're under the fancy lights and all that. But my understanding is that the average actor makes between $12,000 and $15,000 a year.
Yes.
So, I mean, unpack that a little bit for us. I mean, so if that's all you're making, Lord knows, anyone who lives in Toronto knows that's not nearly enough.
No.
So how do we survive? How do we keep our heads above water when these are the numbers we're working with?
Well, a lot of actors, they have a lot of part-time jobs. We live multiple lives, not just acting, but we're also on top of acting, we are serving, we are working in all forms of industries all across Toronto, because we need to make money to feed our art. But if we're not making the money, we can't feed our art. We don't have the mental capacity to do that if we are struggling financially. So we have to find other ways to make money. Unfortunately, even the $12,000 to $15,000 of average income that actors make in Canada, a lot of performers make under that.
Yeah.
Some performers make $0 in 1 year.
Yeah.
And that's a true reality of a lot of diverse performers. We don't get the opportunities that other performers get. And so a lot of the time we are not we don't have the financial stability that other performers have.
Yeah.
But at the same time, a lot of performers have lost a lot of work, and that's something that needs to be talked about. And we need, because we have a very powerful union full of incredible members from all walks of life. And we need to look at what we are, how auditioning is, and how actors, the reality of acting is, and the fact that not everyone is Brad Pitt. We are not all making millions of dollars. We're not A-list celebrities, because unfortunately we don't have the same amount of opportunities that sometimes American counterparts get in Canada.
Well then, George, in your vision of a perfect world, give us some insight into that. What might if things were to go the way that you would ideally see them go? Give us some insight, a few snippets of what that might look like for, the future actor.
I would love all diverse performers to have the opportunities to be in whatever they want to be in. I want to see people like me being the leading man on screen. I want people like me to be seen in all walks of life when it comes to productions and what we can do and what we are capable of doing. And I feel like in the perfect world, I would love casting to be so much more of what Canada is. Because Toronto and ACTRA Toronto, you can cast a world here. That's what we've been saying for a long time.
Absolutely.
I want to actually see that. We are behind. I see so many international films and TV shows that are embracing diversity. It's our time.
I love it. Beautifully said. George, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Best of luck with bargaining. Really appreciate all that you do, and really grateful that you got real with us here today. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for tuning in. This has been Reel Talk. Please like and subscribe on our YouTube channel and follow us on wherever you get your favorite podcast.